thank you for coming on to the Velvet Visionaires. I heard your story. We met at the Mother's Day market vendor, right?
Yes.
And I kind of about you, and I talked about the finance and all of that. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on. Tell us about what you're doing today in your real estate and I sold it. And tell us about that. How's all that going right now?
Well, everything is going great. So I officially can say owner of Fine Finances University because we got the LLC. So we good now. So it's official. But it's a business that I started when I was 20, where I just simply wanted to help educate people on financial literacy. My mom told me a story about credit and money, and I saw how it was affecting my friends, the people I graduated with especially, and I was like, this is awful. I want to change it by making videos, creating content, and just kind of educating people on how to manage their money. We talk about credit education, simple things like budgeting. That's something that I love a lot because I do it myself, but I'm also very strong about because we need to learn how to manage our money. If you can't manage $100, you're going to struggle to manage 1,000 or 10,000, 100,000. So I like to talk about those beginning principles. So it's simply just a safe place for young adults, Gen Z, or anyone who doesn't know, because that could be anyone at any age, on how to manage your money, how to build or start your credit, and feel comfortable talking about it because it's something a lot of people don't want to talk about. So I'm trying to create a safe space for people.
What pulled you to this though? What was the thing that said, all right, I think Fine Finances is definitely where we want to go? Was there a particular story that kind of hit you and said like, this is something that is important?
Yes. A very close friend of mine at the time was trying to, I think it was a car, and got told no, got declined, and, had been at the car dealership for hours and everything looked good until they pulled that credit report, and we were on the phone and they broke down to me just about like, I'm so tired of hearing no. I can never get the things that I'm trying to get. And then seeing other people our age go get a car simply, or, in my personal experience, I was able to get one. I couldn't resonate with them, but I could feel for them because I realized like your credit doesn't define you. And it just broke my heart in that moment. And I'm an empath, so I'm crying on the phone with them like, right. Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? So, but that situation for me, it broke my heart because I realized a lot of people my age didn't have the means, didn't have the help, the support, and they didn't know what to do because yes, you didn't get approved for the car, but only so much of that is your own fault because how can you help something you were never taught? And that moment was when I was like, I have got to teach people how to do this because I don't want anyone else to go through this experience. Yes.
And it seems like you enjoy teaching because you also are now you sold it as well, right?
Yes.
Right. So how do you help people in that real estate game as well? How do you do that?
So I run my real estate business based off of one main principle, which is education first. So a lot of people, especially my people of my color, they can't even fathom owning a home. It's something that doesn't cross a lot of people's mind. So I just try to do education first. So we're talking beginning basics. I walk you through the homeownership process, lender, pre-approval, and take you through those steps because I want you to feel like there's no question you can't ask me. Because and I don't think I know everything. I'm not saying that I do, but I'm the one person I know for sure. I'm going to go do my research and get you the answer to the question that you have so you can have the guidance that you're looking for. So education first always. There's no question left unanswered with me. And I just feel like if I can educate people like, hey, you actually do have a chance at being approved. Here's how. More people will feel like they're willing and they're worthy, of homeownership because it's a generational wealth builder right here if people use it right. So I try to educate people on that as well. I want generational wealth is the full circle for everything that I do, honestly.
And you use a particular word I want to kind of tie into. You said worthy. Mm-hmm. You said people don't feel worthy. Talk to me about that. What do you mean when you say that?
They feel like because of how they grew up or whatever their testimony or story is, that's not something that they can have. Or, well, I was able to rent this place, so that's enough for me. It's just something that they don't even think they're qualified for. Right. And I think because maybe they're not the target audience, or maybe just because someone hasn't taken the time to educate them. And I think a lot of times, just with credit approvals, you start to think it's something wrong with you or something when whole time it's something you were never taught. You can't help what you never learned or what someone didn't take the time to teach you. And that's not our faults. A lot of it goes back to the school systems. Schools, I know for me, I had one elective class that taught something about finances, and they taught us how to write a check, and that was about it. I've heard nowadays that there are more resources, which is amazing that they have them, but 3-4 years ago or 20 years ago, that was not the case.
No, for sure. Because I remember, I think the lady that does my children's hair, they do. She teaches a real estate investment class, and she was teaching at Butler High School, teaching real estate investment, which was unheard of.
Yeah, which is awesome. I love that. That's a resource and something that a lot of people didn't get back in the day, and and now I think the younger generations are feeling it or seeing it, and luckily, things are changing, and that's good. That's what we want.
Okay. So we talked about the real estate. We talked about a little bit of financial literacy, which is so important. Financial literacy is so important, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to do with this Velvet Visionaries is teach that financial literacy, right? Yeah. It's not just for myself, but for the listeners as well, right? Yeah. If you had, and we can talk about this a little bit later on, but if you had one key thing that you could teach people about financial literacy right now, what would you say? Or if you wanted to, maybe you tell that person that you were talking about prior to them getting to that point, what would you tell them about financial literacy and what is something that we should all know about financial literacy right now?
I think it all goes, my biggest thing is money. Yeah. That when I think of financial literacy, money and budgeting was the first thing that I targeted towards or leaned towards. I would say that get control of your money so your money doesn't have control over you, which means like one big thing that I touch base on a lot is every dollar should have a place to go, even if that's savings, fund money, and things like that, because no one wants to be in a position where a bill pops up and they don't have anything in the back to be able to pay it. So if I were to say teach anything or take something from this, it would be start an emergency fund, even if it's $100, $25, $1,000, whatever is realistic for your lifestyle. Have some money set aside, because when the unexpected happens, you want to be able to be prepared for it. I remember dropping my phone on the floor one time, and back then it was like $300 to fix a phone screen. I broke down in tears. I had a whole come apart. I'm a teenager with a brand new phone and freaking out. But then I realized I have $500 in my savings. That didn't cross my mind when it happened. I freaked out and had a panic attack. I was walking the neighborhood with my mom, and she was like, "Girl, my mom told me, you cannot have a mental breakdown or have a breakdown every time something bad happens, because main thing, you're going to have high blood pressure, but you're also going to be stressed. Having a financial cushion allows you to not be stressed or have that problem. So that's the one thing I would want everyone to take away. Save some money, have something set aside. So if a medical situation happens, an emergency happens, or your car breaks down and you need to get a car part, you have the funds to go ahead and handle it, and you'll save yourself some stress, because that also ties into your physical health, your health as a person. So that's what I would say.
Amazing answer. Clip that. I'm gonna make sure we mark that. That's definitely going up. You know what I'm saying? Great answer.
I had to find it. I was like, what am I trying to say? Wait. Okay.
That's a great answer. I like that. I appreciate that. Hey man, you see this? Why they didn't record this on a real camera? They shot this on a Motorola flip phone, man.
Hey, we're live.
Hey, I'm Walter Williams with Velvet Visionaires Studios, and I help local businesses here in Huntsville make content for their social media pages. If you're a real estate agent, if you're a clothing boutique, if you're a restaurant, a food truck, anything like that needs better content, clean content to better engage with their community, reach out to me. If you've got an upcoming event that needs videography services, reach out to us. You can call us 256-541-8966, or you can email us at velvetvisionaires@gmail.com, spelled just like you see. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day. Hey bro, why you ain't tell me that the camera was on? Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about your origin story, because we talked about how you got into why it was important. Let's kind of talk about the real estate as well, right? Talk to me about why real estate and why financial literacy, and why did it affect you in your upcoming, right, in high school and maybe middle school, elementary school. Where you from? Let's talk about that now. Where you from?
Well, I was born in Mississippi,
Okay.
but I was raised in Tuscaloosa. So my granddad was a pastor down there for 49 years
Nice.
before he passed away in 2016.
Sorry.
And it's okay, thank you. But we all moved up here after he passed. My grandmother came up here, and she's actually from Huntsville. So she graduated from A&M.
Nice.
My uncles and my mom graduated from Bama, but my uncles graduated from A&M. So Huntsville is kind of my roots because a lot of my family is from here and still lives here to this day. But I want to say everything with what I'm doing currently started. I'll start with real estate. I'm gonna put my mom's business out there. But love you, girl. But it started with her. I might cry. But long story short, as far as when it comes to real estate houses, my mom built our house that we live in currently. And I watched her go through that process of, picking out the flooring, picking out the cabinetry. She picked the wrong color, but that's a story for another time. But, just going through that process. And she actually filed for bankruptcy years prior. So to see her and know now, because she didn't tell me till I was an adult, but to see her overcome that process and still be able to purchase a home on her own and just walk through, I remember walking up the stairs when it was just framing and we were able to kind of see a little bit of what was going on. And I was just like, this is the coolest process ever. I didn't think about what my mom was going through or how she got here at the time. But in the moment, simply looking at the framing and watching the drywall go up and checking on the house, I was like, this is amazing. Then when I finally learned the story, I was like, wow, this is so much more than just drywall and framework and, everything going in. So it stems from watching her just be, an independent boss and overcome adversity and, go through her challenges, but also just because I love everything that has to do with a home. So from the building process, to just the way that they look, and I could go look at houses all day long. So it started with her and her journey, but it also stems from me just always being obsessed with houses. Yes, she's my inspiration, and she buying her house. She became a realtor herself following that. So she went with my best friend's mom at the time. That was her agent, and I think that she tells me all the time, like, she was doing a lot of research and doing a lot of things, and she was like, someone told her, Harriet, you could be a real estate agent. And she was like, I kind of could. So, and going from being a teacher who was barely making anything, real estate changed her life too. So I'm just to, know that she was able to bless me and my sister with a beautiful home, a large home by herself as a single woman. That's inspiring. So she is my motivation for everything. Even if I don't, want to admit it all the time, I try to wait and hold off on giving her credit, but I got to give credit when credit is due. That's my girl. But honestly, her story and testimony is what gets me through, and she's my inspiration. Well, she's taught me everything I know.
Yeah, shout out to moms.
That's my girl. I love you.
That's what's up. No, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, that's a big part of life, is like having those conversations and seeing that from the beginning of like, all right, this is how real estate works, and seeing your mother go through like, all right, we built this process. And she built this house and put the blood,
brick by brick.
Yeah, right, brick by brick. Let the sleep go and everything, right? Yeah. So that's important, man. That's important. You know what I mean? So we talked about personal experiences with budgeting and credit. And you talked about, I don't know if you want to talk about it. You said you did make it public. You talked about finances, right? We talked about that. And now you're at a point now where I know you want to talk about the day job, about leaving the day job and whatnot like that. Let's talk about that, bro.
Okay.
Let's talk about
the day job. I just quit my job, guys.
Let's talk about the day job, bro. What? First of all, how did you know I'm ready to leave my day job, right? One, how did you know, all right, I'm ready to go? And two, did you do anything to prepare for that? Or you, like, people have like runways and things like that. People do that. And were you nervous about it? Let's talk about that. Okay. Talk about the process of leaving your job and starting something new.
Well, if I'm being honest with you, as far as how did you get ready? I'm scared. I actually don't feel, stability is what a lot of people live off of. Like, walking away from stability is scary. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I operate off of a faith over fear basis. That's how I always have operated. And I know that can't grow when you're comfortable, so I need to get uncomfortable so I can get to my next level. That's honestly what it is. But the moment that let me know it was time for me to leave, it was working there. I was a staffing specialist. It was a safety concern. Somebody came in, was making crazy threats. And I realized, I was like, this isn't even my passion to be dealing with this. You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm getting yelled at, and these threats are being made, and this is not my ministry here. And that's really what it is. When you deal with something that you don't want to tolerate and something that you don't feel like is your purpose, you be like, it's time for me to go. And that's really what it was. So that happened, and that's what's kind of solidified it for me. But also the company not taking, safety concerns serious after the fact. But I was just like, I don't feel safe here, and I'm ready to go. So to prepare for that, you can't really prepare for this kind of thing, but the first thing was, of course, writing the 2-week notice, and then I turned it in, and that was scary because I've never done that before. But in the last month of me working there, when I finally made up my mind, I applied and filed for my LLC. I got my EIN number, so I was like, okay, we're legit, let's go. I'm like, we're making strides, yes. And things with my credit business had started to pick up, and I was like, okay, I have a cushion. I have a brokerage account. Like I've been investing for months, but I have that backup plan, and I have a real estate cushion. If I ever did decide to go full time, and that was a decision I had made a year prior. I was like, let me have some backup money just in case, I ever do go full time. So I say all that to say there really is no preparation or, a specific moment or, oh, I have $10,000, so I feel safe. I mean, I'm in a position where I'm forcing myself to go hard and see what happens, and we're hoping for the best. I met with my mentor the day before my last day. She spoke life into me, and now we're good to go. So we just doing a thing, you know what I mean? So there is no defining moment that's like, okay, this is it. I'm just taking it day by day. And at the end of the day, God's plan is bigger than what I have planned. So he got me at the end of the day.
Yeah, understood. No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. And you talk about the mentor. Talk about how important is it having a mentor?
Oh, I love this topic. When I first met her, she told me, or met her for mentorship, she told me, why mentorship? Like, let me just make sure we're aligned on the same things. And I looked at her and I said, I believe every mentor needs a mentor, because I had already started mentorship with real estate, which is also something I felt completely unready for. I was like, you want me to train somebody? And I've been here a year. What am I going to teach them? I taught her everything I could possibly know. And so I worked with her for 6 months. She got her first contract and has her first listing coming up. And we've only been working together for a year. So I'm like, kind of good. But it started with every mentor needs a mentor. I was like, I can't train and lead without being trained and led by someone who's doing better than me. So I believe, mentorship is very important. And I want to say I look up to her because she's managing multiple things, and that's what I want to do. I don't feel like I have to be 100% here and I can't do anything else because I can't maintain multiple things. So she has multiple businesses, nonprofits, events that she holds, and does them well, and they execute fine. Things go wrong everywhere. You host an event, somebody may not show up. Okay, we keep going. But for her to have all those things and manage them well, that's what I want to do, because I believe I can be a Jill of all trades. I can do every and anything I put my mind to. So I have her leadership and guidance to help me do those things.
Okay. And that's why you said that having that mentor is there. I like that. Yes. I like that. Having a mentor, yeah, it's important. Yeah. Right? But, a lot of people don't do it because it's like, in our community, we got it out the mud. Yeah. Right? We got it out the mud. But that doesn't mean somebody doesn't have to give you a helping hand. Right. To get it out the mud. Sometimes you need.
We are stronger with community and collaboration. Right. So we are better together than by ourselves. And I've always believed that. And I think everyone should, learn to be open and willing to work with others. And I get the trauma behind wanting to be independent and by yourself, but we're better together at the end of the day. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like to say brotherhood is a weapon. What I'm saying? Brotherhood is a weapon. Sisterhood is a weapon. Being able to work together to do these things is a good thing. So, all right, I think that's a good thing. I want to talk about entrepreneurship. Like, we talked about now you're full-time entrepreneurship at a young age. Tell me, like, what's next, right? Like, how are you going to ensure your future is ready and make sure you're and where you want to be? Like, what does that look like at entrepreneurship at a young age for you? Tell me about that.
For me, it looks like I said, taking the risk because I feel like, okay, I'm young enough to do this and see what happens because I believe I have a little bit of time to fall on my face and get back up again.
Right.
But to me, it looks like locking in on the discipline because I strongly believe that motivation can die. We can't always just go off of, oh, I believe in this and I'm feeling it. No, some days you have to do it even when you're tired, even when you're irritated, even when, you have a bad experience with a client. Like, you have to keep going. And so I've been building those principles and trying to enforce certain routines. I'm very type A on certain things, type B on a lot of others. But when it comes to that, so I got my 90-day game plan. I know what I want my end result to be in the next few months or at the end of this quarter. So I'm really just taking it day by day because I do also know that just because you're busy doesn't mean you're being productive. And so I'm trying to do a lot of things that are income producing and are productive for my businesses. So now I finally have time. So I'm locking in on my content, pushing things out. But it's really just discipline, doing it even when you don't want to do and having that structure. So that's what I can see my next, few months looking like is me getting a lot of things done that I didn't really have time to do. I felt overwhelmed doing. So finding my clients' houses, doing open houses, sitting for new construction builders and getting my name out there, my face out there now that I have the schedule to actually do so.
Right. And do you feel like time management is a big piece of that?
Oh, absolutely.
So, a lot, time management is something that a lot of people
make you or break you.
Come on, right? So how do you do your time management? If you want to talk about that, like how do you? Because I think that's another good one for people to know, like how they manage their time and how do we develop that discipline so they can. Because everybody has a goal.
Yeah.
Most people have goals, but you got to have discipline and time management to get to those goals. So we'll talk about the time management aspect.
Okay, so I'll break time management into something bigger and then make it smaller. Okay. So I want to say about a year ago, the concept, it changed my life completely. I know a lot of people know about it, but some people may not. Right. But once I finally broke my year down into quarters, everything changed. Because when it comes to achieving goals, everyone sets New Year's resolutions, but how often in the summertime or, 3 months later do we kind of drop those? The vision board is behind the desk and nobody looks at it anymore. It's cute and fun at first, do your vision board party, and I do it myself. But when I set my year up into quarters, everything became so much more achievable. So I break it down by quarter, so it's 4 quarters in a year, and I set 90-day goals. I may only set 5 of them, and of course, when I set my goal, I set, what is it called? Yes. I love SMART goals. Okay, I'm sorry. A SMART goal. So it's so easy to say, oh, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. Okay, but what are you going to do to lose the 50? How soon are you going to do it? What's the reward you're going to give yourself for that? How is it measurable, achievable, realistic and time bound? So I love a good SMART goal because that helps everything be more realistic. So yes, I'm going to lose the 50 pounds, but I'm going to do that by I'm going to walk 10,000 steps every single day, 3 30-minute workouts. I'm going to eat fruits and vegetables and prioritize protein. Boom. Right. Now you've got a plan. When are you going to lose the 50 pounds by? Okay, June. Boom. Now we've got it's realistic now. So I say all that to say it started with that as the bigger picture. And then once I found my SMART goals and broke down my goals for the quarter, I turned that into how am I going to structure my day? So you have to take baby steps to lead to a bigger goal. So if my goal is to get a credit client, I'm going to break my time up by, from 11 to 12:30, right before lunch, I am posting content, educating people. And then from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I am following up on emails, sending out messages, following up with the people I'm already currently working with, because I do believe in a word of mouth business. I don't want to have to post on social media if I don't have to. I want to build my community to where because I did good to them and I treated them well and gave them a good experience, they send more people to me. But I like to structure my day off like that. So time management is breaking it down like that is what allows those 90-day goals to be achieved when you set up the schedule for each different 30-day and each hour of the day. Yes.
Makes sense. No, I like that. Because that's something that we all struggle with. Like this, like a lot of people just, I'm gonna go to the movies this weekend.
Right.
But I thought I had something else to do. And that's I know a lot of people, like, we get these planners at the beginning of the year, and then like those planners
Stop writing them in
You know what I'm
May.
saying? In May, shit, they're done in February. But I'm just saying, that's what happens. Right? So that discipline is key. That's important. And you talked about that, especially for entrepreneurs, right?
Yes.
To have that discipline, because when you're doing that entrepreneurship, you're not on the clock, right? You go work at Toyota, you gotta hit a clock.
Right. People are telling you how much to make and when to make it by and giving you a deadline. You have to do all of that and more for yourself. So that's why I'm really big on passion-driven things. I don't do anything that doesn't, I call it warming my heart, because that's really what it is. Right. Helping people warms my heart. Home ownership warms my heart. Teaching people about credit. Everything I'm doing, I feel, is in alignment with what God has planned for me and wants me to do. So it makes it easier to have the discipline and, motivation occasionally to do those things, because it's things I truly care about. But at the end of the day, when it comes to being your own boss, you can't anybody want it more for you than you want it for yourself, because it's your business. So you gotta lock in whether you want to or not. Even on the days you feel like you don't want to.
That's right, 100%. Even on the days you don't want to, 100% agree, man. 100% agree. Let's see. We talked about the credit improvement, right? I think that's a big part of our community as well. I know you touched on it a little bit, but the significance of credit in our community, right? And unfortunately, we're not taught about that, right? So in your business, you teach people about the importance of credit. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some gems that you can give us for the credit? Like, how can we develop, or how we can make our credit better? Of course, we know we need to pay our bills on time.
Right. So let's talk about credit like I'm talking to somebody who is an entrepreneur, which you are. So I'm talking to the right person. That's right. So if I were to give you some gems, of course, the main thing, the biggest thing is knowing what your credit is made up of. Credit utilization makes up 35% of your score. It's the biggest factor out of everything else. Credit mix and things like that are only 10%, but your utilization is 35% of your score. So if you have a credit card and it's $5,000 and you're at $2,500, you're using 50% of your credit utilization, and to lenders, you look like a risk. So if you were to go get you a car or go get you anything, they're going to see that high utilization and it's hurting your score. So everyone should try to aim for under 30%, but the real way to leverage your credit is get it to 10% and use it like that. I think a lot of times people think, oh, I have a $10,000 credit limit. I got $10,000. No, you don't. You have what you realistically have in your bank account right now and what you can pay off realistically every single month. So I would say prioritize making sure your credit limit is low. Use it for a tank of gas and then pay it off, that month, and don't close anything. So it would definitely be knowing what your credit is made up of. And then I think for the entrepreneur aspect of it, another gem I'll give you is you leverage your credit in a way that you can use other people's money, people call it OPM, to fund your business or your other business ventures and things like that. So the goal is, like, for instance, let's just say you are a beauty professional, okay? So if you take clients and you use Square has a system where basically you get, based off of your sales and how many people you're servicing, they'll give you funding for your business that you don't have to pay back, like by making a monthly payment. Right. They'll pull it from your sales and it'll tell you when you're projected to have the loan paid off by. So the goal is for everyone to be able to leverage credit in a way that they can use the bank's money and other people's money to fund their businesses to scale it further. So it starts with personal, but then when we get into the business aspect, you've got to start with personal first. Then that way you can work yourself up to business. So that's just a few things that I can touch base on about credit. But my goal with my credit improvement program is whether you know everything about credit, but you just made a mistake and need something removed, or you don't know a lick of nothing. Right. I'm going to teach you from the very basics. I have a community, so I'm always posting different things about credit to teach people, because that's where it started. Like, my goal was always, let's just help one person. I've been able to help that and then some. So I've created a community and a platform where I can, even after you're done with my services, you're still getting credit education and help and assistance. I don't leave them for dead. You don't just get dropped from the program, I don't talk to you anymore. I check up on everyone. So that's definitely what I would say.
That's good. Because I know a lot of people that need some credit help. So and people are always asking, like, I need some help with my credit. Because if you ask a random person, like, one of my friends, if I ask one of my friends, like, what's your credit score?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know the answer to that.
Right.
And they don't even know where to go get it.
Right. Well, I can tell you, go to annualcreditreport.com. Every year they give you a free credit report. It'll pull everything so you can see what's going on. And that's where you kind of look at the very first thing on, okay, what's going on with my credit? Where am I? And what do I need to do? So I would start with annual credit report and work my way from there. Absolutely.
So you talk about balancing multiple businesses. You want to talk about that? You want to go into that next?
Sure. Let's talk about it, because I know it's like, okay, what do you even mean by that? Because it's not just necessarily, okay, real estate and credit, but also my mom has several businesses as well. She has a property management business, and we also have a logistics business. So for years we've had 10 to 15 drivers running routes and things like that, and so it ties into everything we're talking about, time management and things like that. But I just wanted to touch base on running multiple, because you can, like I said, be the Jill of all trades or the Jack of all trades. You can do everything and do it well. I think the big thing with running multiple things is systems. And that's something a lot of people don't know how to start or don't know where to start. But you want your business to ultimately run itself, because I saw something a long time ago that said, if you can't take a day off or take a week off from your business, you're not running your business is running you. You want operations and everything to still function while you're out of town, whether that's hiring a manager, having automation set up. So when it comes to running multiple businesses, it's just very, very important to have systems in place. So when you do have to step out, or someone gets sick and you have to take a leave of absence, everything doesn't shut down and you're just done producing income because you're out of the table. No, things are set in place and set in motion, so the money keeps coming. Clients are still being assisted, even when you're not there at the moment. Absolutely.
I think Robert Kiyosaki said it's the cash flow. What is it? Not the cash flow quadrant, but he had the owners, your self-employed, your business, and you got to make sure, because when you're employed or you're self-employed, you're on this side of that quadrant, but on the right side of the quadrant, you have your business owner and you have your systems owners. And you're talking about moving to that right side of the quadrant where you should be.
Yes. Starting that business and I say it all the time. All right, y'all, I'm taking off my real estate hat and I'm putting on my coach hat, or I'm putting on my da-da-da-da-da. But you want to be able to set the systems in place to where, okay, you can take off your hat and things are still functioning because you have a team, or you have, automated systems and things like that. So yes, don't let your business run you. You run your business. Absolutely. And that comes with taking risk. That's all it is as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta take a risk.
But you gotta be comfortable with it. How you get comfortable with taking the risk now? Like, if you want us to get comfortable taking risk, how we get comfortable taking risk? How do we do that?
I mean, I think that ties into faith. If that's okay, I talk about that. But I mean, it's really faith. Faith over fear is my motto in everything that I do. I feel like when you're uncomfortable, you grow. And the only way to succeed is to do something you've never done before. So that's really all it boils down to. So I guess the answer to that is you don't get comfortable. You take the leap of faith and use the discipline and the systems and the time management and all of the things to make the clock tick. You know what I mean? So, yes.
That's good. That's good. Nah, because
there is no comfortability in growth. So I was trying to sugarcoat it. I was like, wait, it's not there.
It's not. Yes. Yeah, especially because, like, if you get out that comfort zone, right? Like, in order to develop, in order to grow, in order to improve, you have to get out of where you are right now to go there, right? There's another, I read, so there's another book, right? Like, it's called Who Moved My Cheese, right? I don't know if you ever read this book, Who Moved My Cheese. It's a really good one, where the rat, it basically had two lab rats, and they were going through this maze, and they put the cheese in a certain location, and the mouse continued to go back to that location to get the cheese, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. So they put one mouse in there, he ran around to go to get the cheese in the same place it was always in, and then the second mouse did the same thing in his maze, and ran and got the cheese wherever it was the whole time, right? Okay. Eventually what they did is they moved the cheese, right? So now, and they put it in another place in the maze. This mouse continued to go, I guess we call it mouse one. Mm-hmm. Mouse one continued to go to the same place where the cheese was, and it was not there, right? And eventually, every day he kept trying to go there. He couldn't get his cheese, and he eventually passed away, right? But the other mouse had some go to the other location, right, and find out where that cheese was.
So it's about adapting.
It's adapting the change. Okay. That's right, and determining like, okay, I'm getting out of this comfort zone, and I'm going to go find wherever else it is, right?
Right.
Because you talked about the job, right? Being at that job, it's like, okay. And now I'm talking too long. I apologize, but you talk about that, and you talk about how you were there and it was cool, but then at some point that changed, and that shift is where that change occurred, and now you had to go find the cheese in another place. And
and it's not comfortable. It's not my favorite cheese. I'm just trying to. You have to do what you have to do at the end of the day to survive, because we can't die. We get our cheese, so you have to make it work at the end of the day.
That's right. You gotta pay the bills.
Right. Okay. And it's gonna work. He got me. It's really faith. Honestly, you don't have to. I think a lot of people don't realize you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have as type A as I am, and I have a plan and I have a planner and I'm using all these notes and stuff. You don't have to know everything. I don't know what I'm doing next week, but I know once Monday hits, I'm gonna set that to-do list. I'm gonna do some things that can help me produce more income and better my business, and then we're gonna make it on to Tuesday. So, and he's got the rest. So. It's okay to not have everything planned out so far in advance. I feel like I've based a lot of my life out of, okay, I need to go ahead and buy a house now. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so I think in this season, this is me not necessarily putting pressure on myself, but finally being like, all right, girl, you got this. Like, I'm not being so hard on myself, but I am allowing myself the space to prove myself wrong or prove myself, to the standards I hold myself so high to. So that's really what this current season is doing what I know I'm capable of and testing the limits and trying everything and seeing what works and what doesn't. So I think there's a lesson to learn in every change, every shift, whether it be from making a mistake or something going right. And I think that's the point of it all. The goal is to learn from whatever it is you're currently doing in life, make a pivot and make a change from there and try the next thing. And keep going, because that's momentum, that's movement forward, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
For sure, I like that. I think that's a good caveat to start talking about what's next for you and where you going in the next 5-10 years. What's the 5-10-year plan? Where you going with this? Where sold it? What is going to be the future for all of that?
I see my future being passion driven always, but I just see myself helping so many more people. The goal started with one, but it's growing, and I feel like with the knowledge and the things that I'm trying to learn, it's only going to go further. So my goal is to continue pouring into people and helping people and making money less of an uncomfortable conversation, so we can all feel safe to talk about it and know that it's okay to make mistakes. I see mentorship a lot more in my future, and educating the youth. I feel like I want to do more with younger people. I thought when I started FFU, I was like, okay, college students, because, or not college students, but college age students who didn't know. But then as I've grown, I've learned, okay, adults don't know, but let's start young. Let's start with the middle schoolers and, the kids at Girls Inc. and the Boys and Girls Club. Let's start young. So that way, high school or college is not the very first time they hear something about a budget or money or credit. So I see myself educating and pouring into people and going wherever God leads me, honestly.
That's a hard story I have about the credit card. You talked about the credit card. Like, I remember that my first credit card was a nightmare.
Yeah, and I heard colleges used to just hand them out to people. Yeah. I was like, they did that for real? That's crazy. No education tied to it. Just here you go. Here's an Amex. Here's a Visa. Hold on. That's crazy. So I see why people messed up and didn't know. So, but did you learn from it? Did you end up fixing it?
Absolutely.
Who taught you? Or did you teach yourself?
I realized, because it was mine, and my mother was doing what she thought was best. She allowed me to have a credit card, gave it to me, and I'm
swiping like free money, right? Because no one ever said credit limit. You have to pay it back. Yeah, they don't ever say that.
I think I started off with like $2,000 on my credit limit, and by the time I got done, and I woke up, it was like $10,000. You know what I'm saying? They kept bumping it up. Yeah. I was buying clothes, buying all this type of stuff, and I realized I had to pay it back. I finally was able to pay it back, and it was a good thing.
I'm never doing that again.
I didn't have a credit card for like I think I was probably like 30 when I got my next credit card.
It traumatized you, right? And it's so funny because my mom didn't learn everything until she was in her 30s or 40s when she finally taught me about it. So I was like, oh, I'm so blessed to have been taught this at 17. Yeah. Let me break this curse. That's really what it ultimately came down to. So that way we don't make those mistakes again. But I bet you after it happened, you started telling other people, didn't you? So, 100%. And that's how it works. We're better as a community, and we learn from our mistakes. And that's really everything that I learned. I want to teach the next person. And so whoever finds me, and then I'm able to help them. So that's the purpose behind it. Yes.
Where can people find you now?
You can find me on all platforms of social media. Naya Sold It is my personal / real estate page. And at Fine Finances University is my credit and budget page where I go a little bit more in depth into everything. So you can connect with me anywhere. I'm one call away.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate you, Naya. Thank you for answering all our questions and sharing all these gems, man. It was real good.
I appreciate it. Thank you.